race, traveling light. Well, the good news is that Jesus Christ stands ready to help us. But whatever it is, notice verse 1 again. Let us strip off anything that slows us down and holds us back, and especially the sins that wrap themselves tightly around our feet and trip us up. Those are the things that we need to get rid of, that we need to discard. Whatever wears us out, or trips us up, or holds us back, or slows us down. Whatever keeps us from concentrating on the race God has called us to, or turns our hearts away from God, those we need to set aside, like an athlete who sets aside those things that weigh him down. The good news is that Christ stands ready to help us with that. He wants to help us to travel light, to be able to give us strength to loosen our grip on the baggage of stuff that we carry with us that are unnecessary and that keep us from running the race successfully. So for the Christian, we get rid of those things that hinder and get rid of them for good, because at the end of the race, we will have everything that we need in Christ. There's only one way to succeed in this lifelong marathon and the Christian's race, and that is to decisively discard of sin in our lives, of those things that trip us up. I remember just a few months ago, I woke up in the morning and I was having a conversation in my head. Have you ever done that before? You're not talking to anybody, but the conversation is going on, and you're thinking about something, and you're trying to solve a problem. And I had been quite upset the day before because of what someone had done to me. And I would say that I was unhappy about it. The Lord, if I was being honest, I would say I was angry about it. And the Lord had reminded me in the morning that I'd let the sun go down on my wrath, that I hadn't taken care of it before I went to bed. And so I have this going on through the night, I'm sure, in my mind and heart. And so he's saying to me, Joe, you need to make a phone call and get this straightened out. You need to ask forgiveness for your attitude toward this person. And I'm not really wanting to do that. You know, that is probably just some pride in my life. Why would I want to humble myself and say, my attitude was wrong toward you and I'm very sorry? But that's what I needed to do. And so I was resisting that. And this conversation was going on in my head. But you know, I finally was obedient to the Lord, to the prompting of God's Spirit. I made the long distance call. I asked for forgiveness for my attitude. And you know what happened? I saved a friendship. I experienced God's forgiveness. And I was traveling light. I released my need to be right or to be angry. And I was able to set that aside. You see, the Christian's handicap is sin. It's the baggage, it's the garbage that we refuse to let go. To succeed in the race, we need to discard that which slows us down or trips us up. Anything that gets our eyes off of Jesus. It's the way we get to the finish line successfully. The lifelong marathon that we're in. Discarding of sin in our lives, with God's help, brings us to maturity so that we might run a successful race. The third thing, notice, the Christian's inspiration really are the martyrs and saints. Notice verse 1, since we're surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, who are those witnesses that are surrounding us? Well, it's all those who've gone before. Noticed in chapter 11, the faith chapter of the Bible, and you see all the heroes of the faith, and the verses we read about in chapter 11 about the amazing way in which these people who've gone before us. And so we picture an amphitheater like at the Olympics when the runners finally come in to make their final lap, or when the cross-country skiers come over the hill and they make that final loop inside the theater. I'm just saying that it's sort of like that. And all the saints are cheering us on from heaven, saying, yes, you're going to make it. Don't give up. It's the final lap. Now, you know that if an athlete sees a lot of other athletes around them cheering them on, that really inspires them. Well, I want to say, let the saints inspire you. Let those who have lived a life that truly have honored God, as they cheer you on, let them be your inspiration. Because it's this invisible crowd of world-class saints and martyrs filling the grandstands around your life. Because a Christian lives in the gaze of the apostles and of the prophets, of Moses and Abraham and Isaac and Jacob and all those of heroes of the faith listed in Hebrews 11. So if you're in a tough spot, you may want to ask, what would Moses do? How has he handled this kind of difficulty? Or Job and all the troubles he had? Let the heroes of the past thrust you with new courage into the future, and let their lives inspire you and challenge you in the hard places. It says that Abel died, but his faith is still speaking. His faith speaks to us. He's one of those martyrs and saints that continues to inspire us. Well, God may very well be calling even some here to a new depth in their walk with God and in following after Him and exploits for Him. Every Christian hero and leader, comes from a church just like this. That's where God finds us often and brings us to Himself. Notice fourth, the Christian's characteristic is endurance. Let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us. Endurance is that conquering grace. When it really gets difficult, that's when we endure. Right now I see this congregation as an enduring congregation. That's when we say we will carry on with God's help. And it's the patience that masters things. Robert Schuller once said, "When faced with a mountain, I will not quit. I will go around it, I'll climb over it, or I'll tunnel through it, or I'll stay here and turn it into a gold mine for God." I like that. It's sort of that concept of enduring, because obstacles don't stop this kind of endurance, and delays don't depress it, and discouragements don't take it away. The prize, is not for the good starters, it's for the finishers. And in some marathon races, thousands of runners begin at the beginning, but only one person wins. Not in this Christian race. No, it isn't a short dash. It's really a lifelong marathon, and it takes endurance. And that is the Christian's characteristic. Those who endure to the end shall be saved. You'll have your opposition. I do at times too. Jesus had his Gethsemane, his difficult times. But we take up the cross and we follow the one who's blazed the trail before us, Jesus Christ. So don't give up too soon. Don't relax before you run through the finish line, and don't collapse until you fall into the arms of Jesus. Wasn't that a great song that Marilyn sang this morning, reminding us again that when we fall on Jesus, and He will pick us up get us on our feet, and help us to continue in the race until we meet him face to face. Well, finally, the Christian's example is Jesus himself. Notice verse 2. Let us fix our eyes on Jesus, the author and perfecter